Good evening and welcome to Conversations with Classic Cuties. I'm your host, Ebony. Tonight, my co host could not be here with me tonight, but we do have a special guest, Dameon Hills. It's actually our topic, Society's Responsibilities, Episode 3, Season 3. Actually, it's Episode 2, Season 3. So, we're going to jump into it. For those that are watching us live on Facebook, it's Quties page, Quties, on Facebook Live. So, Damien, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here. Glad to have you here. So, tell us a little bit about Damien.
My name is Dameon Hills. I am a Baton Rouge native. However, I have spent a lot of time in different cities and different states. I currently work for the Grove Recovery Center as a registered addiction counselor. I've been there for 4 years now, and I've been in the line of counseling for about 3 of those years. Comes from a long backstory. I actually battled with addiction myself. I am in recovery. My sobriety date is March 20th, 2018. And I didn't really grow up in a household where addiction was prevalent. I kind of veered off into that line on my own. Again, I'm happy to be here.
Okay, well, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, give us a bit of background history on how you started with your addiction.
All right. Well, with the addiction, I actually was introduced to marijuana at a very young age. Around 10 years old, I believe, was my first exposure to it. Around 12 is when I really started smoking on a more regular basis. Alcohol that was always, available at family functions. You sneak off to the cooler when the parents or the adults aren't there, sneak a
Right.
beer off to the back. Around that age, around 12 is when, the marijuana came into play, and it just progressed from there. I ended up leaving my parents' house at 14 years old and getting emancipated at 15. So around that time, drinking got a lot heavier. Marijuana became a everyday thing, and I eventually was exposed to cocaine, ecstasy, found my way to meth, and then eventually even crack cocaine in the latter stages of my addiction. But all in total, from around the time I started at 12, I did not stop using any kind of substance until 2 months before my 36th birthday. So 35 years old from 12. Throughout that full span of my life, substance use was very prevalent.
And through the process of the substance abuse, like mentally, how did you cope with this?
Uh, that was my coping. I didn't see anything as being wrong with me.
Okay.
Regardless of the state my life had been into, I've experienced homelessness for years on end. I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding of what homeless is, feeling like it's only people that live on the streets or, under the bridges. But in all actuality, if you don't have a steady place to lay your head, going from pillar to post, not knowing exactly where it is you're going to lay your head the next day. All of that constitutes homelessness. So regardless of me bouncing from city to state, regardless of me not having my own place, living with a friend here, an associate there, regardless of not having completed school, or not being able to hold down jobs, regardless of not having solid relationships, all of that right there, I paid absolutely no attention to. And it wasn't until I actually got into recovery where I was able to reflect back onto it and see just how long I had been dealing with a lack of coping skills.
Okay. How did it affect your family? Because when a person, and you're comfortable with the word addiction,
Yes.
but when you have family members that you grew up with, your parents, how did this affect your family, siblings?
Well, you did ask if I was comfortable with the word addiction, and I think it's real important for, I would be doing an injustice to the field and also to myself if I didn't explain this. So I do refer to myself as an alcoholic. I do refer to myself as an addict. Uh, Addiction is a disease. You know, it took a long time for me to come to the realization and feel comfortable with referring to myself as such because growing up, I remember calling people addicts. I remember calling people junkies, winos, fiends, you know, all of those different things and,
Right.
you know, associated actions like, you know, panhandling in front of a store or, you know, robbing you and all of these different things. So I associated those actions with those words and not necessarily understanding that they too were sick. You know, so when I say I'm an
Yes.
addict, when I say I'm an alcoholic, what I'm in essence saying is that I have a disease. I have a disease that if left untreated will lead to me destroying relationships. That if left untreated will lead to me losing my job, losing my house, you know, losing my car, ended up winding on the streets again, you know. So that's what I refer to it as. Um, and I think a lot of people have battled with that as well. You know, when we talk about the family unit, you know, it's hard to approach. You know, sometimes it's just okay. We're gonna give them their space. We're gonna give them their room. You know, hopefully they'll grow out of it. Maybe it's just a phase, but it continues to progress and progress and progress. You know, so when you hear somebody say that they're an addict or an alcoholic, I hope that we can, you know, not pass judgment, you know, and see that they're actually saying, I have a disease. You know, it's
Right.
much similar to a person that has cancer.
Okay.
You know, it's the same thing. We're suffering from an ailment. Just as cancer has to be kept in check, you know, so does addiction.
Okay.
Now to the other part of the question, as far as how it affected my family, um, I can only speak on how I feel it affected my family. You know, I came from I came from what they call good stock.
Okay.
You know, educated parents. You know, they had nice jobs. We lived in a nice neighborhood. It wasn't a time where we ever really needed for anything or wanted from it or for anything, to my knowledge. You know, so with me going the direction I did, you know, in hindsight, looking at all of the things that were afforded to me,
Right.
as well as the stress that my actions had to have put on them, given that I have three siblings, you know, which leads up to me being emancipated, you know, even
Right.
something of that nature. I didn't understand at the time. You
Okay.
know, my parents would say, well, it was your decision to get emancipated.
Right.
I'm like, I didn't know what this was outside of the Emancipation
Thought
Proclamation.
you was grown.
Yeah,
I'm
you know,
grown. I'm gonna do what I want to do.
I didn't know what it was,
Right.
and I understood later in life that by me signing my name on that paper in front of the judge, that's what made it my decision. But being a child and thinking of a child's mind, no matter how grown I thought I was, I couldn't understand the amount of pain and the amount of strength it took for my parents to first and foremost make the mind up to do that, and then to watch me
Spiral.
possibly sign my life away. Because in essence, that's what could have happened, you know, and to not have direct communication with me for, you know, years on end, you know, to be wondering, you know, is he going to be all right? You know, I've spent 2 years incarcerated, once in Georgia and once here in Baton Rouge, and I feel like those were 2 times outside of the 15 plus years that I was going out of their care that they knew where I was.
Right.
And even though the circumstances weren't the best, at least I was actually protected by the legal system.
Okay.
You know, so the extent in which they suffered, you know, the amount of sleep that I stole from them, you know, the amount
Sleepless nights.
of stress that I caused
Right.
them, you know, the amount of pressure that I put on my peers, you know, my siblings. I remember my brother was about 18. I left the house when he was 8. You know, so the majority of his all of his adolescence, his teenage years. It wasn't until he was around 18, 19. I remember going to him and apologizing for not being there,
Right.
as I felt he needed me to be as a brother. And he expressed to me at that time, well, it's all right. You was drawing. I continued to draw. You could flip. I continued to flip. Like all of these things that I saw you do, which were positive, I looked at that and said, I'm going to do these things until I'm better than you at it.
Right.
And it led to him having success in one of those areas. But the actual pain, that he may not have felt comfortable talking about at the time, we were able to sit down and have a discussion with later. Me and my older sister are also in the process of reintroducing ourselves to each other, because it wasn't just my parents.
Okay.
Also my siblings lost that connection with me. I basically was absent from their life for over 20 years. And in that time frame, you grow into different people.
Right.
So all in all, I can't speak for the extent that they felt it, but I know in my heart that whatever it is I can feel they were affected negatively by, it most likely pales in comparison to what they actually experienced.
Okay. So my next question is, because I can relate to you with some of these points. What was your breaking point? Like what took you to broke you down to your break pads? Like what was your breaking point through this growing up?
It's crazy because I believe my breaking points, I ran all past them.
You said points. You didn't say just points. You said points. Okay.
There were multiple times when I was homeless. I remember I was homeless in Mount Pleasant, Texas, and I was working at a Pizza Hut at the time. And after I left Pizza Hut, I would go to a washateria that was just down the street that was open 24 hours. And I would wash myself off in the sink there, and I would sleep on one of the benches until it was time for me to go to work. So they opened up early in the morning. I was there from the time they opened all the way to their close. That right there wasn't enough to let me know that I had a problem.
Wow.
Being here, sleeping under the bridge off of Convention, that wasn't enough for me to know that I had a problem. Going to jail wasn't enough for me to know that I had a problem. I didn't realize that I had all of those points,
right.
Which we call rock bottoms, until I went into recovery.
Okay.
And going in, it wasn't my intentions to get help. At that point, it's like, okay, well, this is a place I can go and lay my head down for 30 days. I'm brilliant. I can think about some scheme or some plan in order to go off into another venture. But a couple of days in the treatment with some clarity and some lucidity actually setting in on me, I made a decision like it's time for a change. Too much of my life I have invested in negative ways. It's time to use that investment to my advantage and turn it around and see a positive yield.
Okay. And was it something from your childhood that pretty much caused you or veered you to go the route that you took in life? Or was it like your adolescent years when you became older doing school, or you picked on doing school,
And I honestly can't say that it was something that I experienced within the family.
Okay.
If it is something, something that led me away from it may have been repressed. All families have issues, and I did experience some things at a young age, but none of that was a cause for me. Like say, I had a safe place. One of the reasons I said I left my parents' house in the younger times was I didn't feel like they listened to me.
Right.
I didn't feel like I could talk to them about anything. I felt like they gave more attention to my siblings than they gave to me.
Okay.
But in retrospect, it was always an open room for discussion. My parents were always approachable. We talked about any and everything around the kitchen table after eating breakfast or eating dinner. So I can't say there was anything that they forced upon me. In a sense, I feel like it may have been a little bit of society
Okay.
that
Society's responsibilities. Yes, because we're going to touch on a lot of points in reference to the topic tonight of society's responsibilities. So, Dameon, tell us a little bit about the job that you do now.
So, as a counselor, addiction counselor, my goal really is to assist those who suffer with the disease of addiction or with alcoholism, in the varied forms, in gaining an understanding of just what the disease is. Also introducing them to a 12-step program, how that can benefit them. There are multiple different things that factor into why a person, goes so far off of the deep end. You did mention, childhood experiences, traumas, losses, grief, and not even just grief in the sense of losing a loved one. Grief manifests or grief can be experienced through a number of different ways. Also, it could be something as far as a divorce.
Yes.
It can be what you mentioned earlier as far as being bullied in school, somebody being ostracized.
Exactly.
A child growing up and believing that these are his parents only to find out that they're adopted.
Right.
It's
The
a
truth
lot
comes
of
out.
different things that can lead to it, so in this field, I see it manifested in so many different ways, and I get an opportunity because having dealt with that myself, it's easier for them to feel relatable. This isn't
Exactly.
somebody that just, went to college and is, got all of these degrees and everything. Is just saying, okay, so tell me how you feel. No, look, I can share some of my experience with you, and it gives hope that, okay, maybe I can one day find myself in a position of success.
Okay. This is super, super, super deep because, we talked before actually going live, and like I said, this topic touches home with everyday life. And speaking of reality TV, social media, it goes to deep points. Like, as far as reality TV, do you want to touch on some points regarding that? As
Yeah.
far as society?
Definitely, reality TV is another addiction.
Right.
And look, I would be lying if I didn't say I don't enjoy some reality TV, but I think one of the biggest, downfalls to it is that word reality.
Mm-hmm.
Is this in fact reality?
Right.
You look at certain scenes and it's a club scene, and you supposedly have all of these people in here, but you have a camera on this person and that person and this person and that person all simultaneously. So how is this actually, would this really be how the club is? I mean,
Right.
you've been to a club.
Right.
I've been in clubs.
Y'all been to a
and you're
club.
not going to have that many clubs. You're not going to have that many cameras in the club. You may have the ones for security purposes.
Right.
But to have such clarity in everything else, but it's giving off a false image. It's something that, that young women, aspire to be like.
Right.
This image that society, this standard
painting
of
a
this is the
picture.
beautiful, this is what's beautiful.
Right.
This is the body shape that's beautiful. This is the hairstyle that's popular.
Right. If you don't look this way, you're not going to qualify.
Exactly. If you want a successful man,
Right.
then this is how you need to carry yourself, or this is how you need to dress. And in reality, that's not really the case. I'm one of those guys that likes a woman with no to minimal makeup on. I don't like the switching wigs every single day. Like, where's the natural beauty?
Right.
I'm a firm believer that makeup is not to create beauty, but to enhance it. But today's time, society has led women to create a beauty for themselves
Right.
with makeup.
Right.
So and I think it goes all the way back to the education at the house. When we're growing up, we weren't allowed to listen to any kind of music that had profanity in it, until we got into a certain age.
Right.
And with Ever music, we did listen to, even we're talking about the shows that were on television. you know, growing up, there wasn't profanity on just regular television. You know, you had to have HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, or satellite in order to hear some kind of profanity like that. It was really censored as far as the graphic content that's being shown now, you know, sex scenes and all of this stuff right here. That wasn't taking place then. You know, it was, you know, cover your eyes for this scene right here.
Rated
you know,
off.
until you get
rated off.
Yeah, it wasn't rated X and all of that stuff. There R was that was the top level at the time. You know, but in an event that we got of age and was able to see it, after that scene or after that movie, there was a discussion that took place afterwards.
Right.
You know, in listening to certain songs, there was a discussion talking about what it was. You know, watching certain videos, it was explained that this is not necessarily reality. This is art. This is a form of entertainment.
Right.
And I think that's the message that's not being conveyed to youth right now, is that what you're seeing on TV is not reality, it's entertainment.
Exactly. Now, the word you stated was youth.
Youth, yes.
Our youth. I don't even know what to say. I use the word distraction. It's like the kids right now are distracted by social media. The kids are distracted by video games. But our era, we were outside playing. We were outside playing till the street lights came on.
Like I disliked it so much when my parents said you can't leave the house before noon.
Right.
Ain't nobody up that early, and I'm knowing that my friend down the street is up at 8 o'clock.
Right.
Like I want to get out of the house. You know, and that was what it was. We were in tune with nature. It wasn't, even with talking about video games, we had video games, but like we had a limit on how long you're not going to sit in front of this game all day long.
Trade games though, right? Yeah.
You know, you're not sitting in front of this game all day long. You're going to go out there and get some sun.
Exactly.
You know, but again, that they don't have that. It's all technology.
Yeah.
You know, and the access to all of these different forms of social media. You know, they're starting off at a deficit.
Right.
You know, they're starting off feeding into needing to be validated by somebody else.
Exactly.
You know, we grow up in a world, a country. I mean, just in general, a society where we are taught to value, or it's embedded in us to value other people's opinion of us more than our own.
Right.
You know, I'm gonna ask you this question, and don't be ashamed to answer it. You know, because usually people, it's definitely a fun one. So,
because I don't know what you're gonna say.
You don't want to have nothing in your mouth when I ask this question. All right, so do you look back in the toilet after you take a dump?
Oh my God. I mean, you have to, I think that's like normal. You gonna look back, make sure everything good, you flush, all right, that's okay, yeah. Where did that question come from?
So, because it's to drive home this point about, you know, how society teaches us external validation seeking.
I think everybody should look back, make sure they.
Well, as we get older, you know, we hear things for health reasons. You know, if it's floating, then it means this. If it sinks to the bottom, your iron is this. Or if you see black spots or brown spots, and it means this right here. You know, but in all actuality, it's a learned behavior. You know, you think back to potty training.
Right.
You know, you sit your child on the potty. Okay, when they get up, you point back into it, and to give them a reference as this is what you do.
Exactly.
You know, and when they finally go on their own, they come and they grab you back to it. They're all excited. They point into it, and what happens?
Right. Yay!
They're rewarded. There's a celebration.
Right.
You know, you think about when they tie their shoes, when they take their first steps, when they say their first words, when they learn to say their name, when they learn to spell their name, when they learn their ABCs, when they learn to count, you know, to 10, you know, when they go to school, when they ride their bike, you know, without training wheels, all of these things are celebrated. Then it continues in school. The greater the grades are, the more they're recognized and rewarded. The greater the athlete they are, then the more they're recognized, rewarded, and accepted. You know, so we grow up being driven by this external motivation. So what happens when it comes a time in your life where that is no longer there?
Exactly.
You know, and we would never want that to happen, but some circumstances are outside of our control. You know, and you grow up and then something happens, God forbid, to both of your parents, and then you find yourself in the care of somebody who didn't celebrate you, or who doesn't celebrate you, who doesn't acknowledge you, who doesn't validate you. No matter what you do, it's not good enough.
Right.
So now I've developed a complex. This person doesn't accept me, so something must be wrong with me. So what happens now is I go to a different outlet. I reach out to other people, and then somebody accepts me. This group right here accepts me for who I am. So I gravitate to them. Never mind that their values and their morals aren't aligned with the ones of the people who really care for me. I'm going to push those aside because right now I need your acceptance. I need your validation more than I need my values and my morals. And that can also resort to or turn around and lead to addiction itself. And I forgot it was social media,
right.
You know, to tie back into that, you know, the likes.
Yeah.
You know, I need to have a like.
Yeah,
you
I'm gonna show a little skin so I can go ahead and get these likes.
You know what? That didn't give me enough likes.
Right.
Let me show a little bit more skin.
I've seen that happen.
You know, let me hold my head this way. And then they actually will go and research online instead of researching a way that you can edify yourself outside of the image of social media.
Right.
They will research on what they need to do to improve their social media image in order to get more likes. They want to be influencers now.
Right.
But what are you actually influencing?
It's a friend of mine that actually posted about his appearance and his appearance with having clothes on compared to let me show you. Let me put these sweatpants on and see if these girls, you know, it was a total difference. And he compared the likes, and it was like, y'all showing who you really are. I mean, the females was coming. And I mean, for the guys, I hate it. Y'all do what y'all do. The guys were commenting, they were looking, but it was a comparison that he made. He was trying to make a point. The point was clearly made how society or people actually respond to a person having or being fully dressed to being half naked. And like no shirt, it was just like, okay, the likes, the difference.
Yeah.
All right, it's like, okay, I post this about this. All right, I'm fully dressed. You might got 15 likes, but the post, literally the post with the, it was shared. It was the comments was like a lot. It was a lot of comments. I was shocked. I was like, well, he made a valid point.
And that reminds me of something I came across. It may have been like 2 weeks ago, and it was a guy saying, you know what? It's sad. Today's time, I feel like I want to tell the woman, if you really want to turn me on, put some clothes on.
Yeah.
Like you're taking away. There's nothing to imagine. You know, all of the imagine. I've already seen everything you have. What can you offer me outside of that?
Right.
Where's your mind at? Your mind can't be in the right spot if you're using just what you have physically to attract me to you.
Right.
But again, this is the direction that social media has taken us.
And this is the reason why Classic Quties was started, because we wanted to reassure females. You don't have to show everything that you have. Leave something to the imagination. My dad always spoke about this, and I'm going back to it because I think I spoke about it in our very, very first podcast. For a female, if a woman walks in the club and he see one, she got everything out. Of course, men gonna look at her and be like, man, I know I probably can get that by the end of the night. You know, that's how men talk. I'm not gonna say all men, but coming from a father that ran it to me and told me, hey, this is how these men think out here. He explained, hey, that lady, the next one that came in with the nice little suit on, you know, she still had her legs out, but it wasn't revealing.
Yeah.
It was like, man, she looked nice. You know what I'm saying? All right. But he's going to want to take that woman that was fully dressed that just caught his eye because she was covered.
Yes.
compared to the one everybody in the club was looking at. So he did stress that point to me.
And I feel like that kind of goes towards, one of the points under, responsibility, society's responsibility under what I like to call a personal responsibility is self-accountability.
I said, okay.
I have to hold myself accountable.
Right.
How can I go out and carry myself in a certain way or dress in a certain way and then get mad when somebody calls me out on the way that I'm presenting myself to them? How can I be someone to say, well, you shouldn't say this about me or you shouldn't say this around me when they hear me saying it or saying it around somebody else? How can I tell somebody, hey, don't talk to my sister this way,
Right.
when they hear me talking to my sister this way?
Right.
So that's a part of how well are we holding ourselves accountable?
Okay. I gotta interrupt you on that, because it comes to, we have people wear their hair a certain way, and I gotta touch on that, because today you could be dressed this way, but tomorrow you can have a t-shirt on, some shorts, you have dreads, but you are automatically profiled. I gotta touch on that, because it's wrong to automatically profile a person by their hair, by what they wear, because that might be a chill day for you. I just feel like putting on a t-shirt and some jeans or some shorts or whatever. But tomorrow, what did they? No, it's wrong to profile, because look at you.
So, and it goes back to like when we first talked on the phone, and it's like I revealed to you some of the things that I had been experiencing, and even me coming out and saying, look, I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic, I suffered from addiction for this a long time. When I share that with people, it's like, nah, you lying.
Right.
You don't sound like that.
Or you
don't look like that.
Exactly.
The way you dress, the way you carry yourself. So what is that supposed to look like? What is that supposed to sound like? So when we have to take time and actually get to know people, and not just judge.
Yeah. Exactly. I agree with that. It's a deep topic. When you say, as far as what a person should look like, when you think of an addict or someone that's on drugs or cracked out, as people would say, you're gonna look at it like, man, they hair all over their head, they look scrawny, skinny, as far like something was wrong with them. But it always doesn't look like that as far as appearance.
So that person that's on social media that's posting something every 30 minutes, that they post, this is how I woke up like this, and then they post them with their coffee. This is what I'm having with my coffee. Oh, this
they telling
is
everything they hold
every single thing. You know what? That's addiction.
Yeah.
They are an addict. That they have become enslaved to social media. They are living their lives out in front of the world.
Right.
The person that spends all of their time at work. I mean, like every single day they're working 14 hours every single day. What's driving you? What is it that requires you to spend so much time outside of reality? Are you just driven for money?
Right.
Is money because that is the addiction. And where does that come from? That comes from society telling me the more money I have, then the more important I am.
Right.
The more money I have, the more status I have, the more people will like me. So it's all again for validation from other people or from other sources.
Exactly. And I totally agree with that, because people tend to look at things and run with it. As you said, as far as the person themselves, all day. This is what you're doing from start to finish. All day.
All day.
Where your work day at? Are you actually working, or this is your job all day?
And that's what it is. And social media now has made it possible for them to monetize it. So now you have so many people, and I have to say this.
Too.
I posted a comment, a statement rather, on Facebook some many years back, and it was a question. It was a rhetorical question. Didn't need any answer. But the question was, who am I being if I'm not being myself? And I got a response, and the response was, it was it was so potent.
Right.
It just stood out so much to me, and I think about it to this day. That's why I remember it. The response was just another MF being somebody that they're not. Now I think about that right there. All of these people, like if you think about Michael Jordan, or you think about Kobe Bryant, you know, he's going to be referenced to Michael Jordan. You know, but who would you reference Michael Jordan to? You know, who would you reference Karl Malone to? Who would you reference Charles Barkley? You know, yeah, you know, you are not going to be able to reference them to anybody else because they were them. Kobe is referenced to Mike because he emulated him. That's who he aspired to be like. You know, so now I look at it as all of these people who are aiming to be like somebody else, aiming to that they're fashioning their bodies, they're fashioning their minds, they're fashioning every facet of their lives to mirror somebody else who already exists.
Right.
The world is going to miss out on what you're supposed to contribute to it.
Right. And it's the trend. It's like you're keeping up with the trend. I don't like to say names, but if you want to try to figure out, it's all on you. Female artist. She started out doing her thing. She was dressing more laid back, and I'm getting looks like I'm getting these like what she talking about. Okay, I noticed a difference. It's I'm not slandering nobody, but I noticed a difference of you were dressing with shorts or jeans or whatever have you. Now, what society sells, like if you dress like this and show a little bit more, I think you know your sales gonna go up. Of course, the whole image changed. The hair, you got the long hair, you got technically it looked like lingerie. You know, if you notice, a lot of female artists are wearing more like the boy shorts or you know, everything out. So everything is out to where it's like you weren't doing that at first. You was doing your own thing. You was being you came with an image.
And again,
but I'm not hating. But it's like right now, it's what sells. Cause I be listening to I be listening to the songs too, you know. But I noticed the difference in you started out this way, but industry got to your head. Hey, this is what if you do this, I promise you about to get this money. All right, cool.
And we have to look at that as again we're talking about society's responsibility.
Yes.
You know, because society can be broken down into many different levels. You know, and one part of society is the culture.
Exactly.
It is the entertainment industry. You know, so if you have this artist that comes out that has something like one of the artists that I appreciate so much is J. Cole.
Okay.
I appreciate him so much in the terms of his truth to himself. You know, him, the way he carries himself, like he's not extravagant. He doesn't go out and purchase all of these chains and, you know, fancy vehicles and everything. I mean, he rides a bike. You know, so when I see that, and then you are on the opposite end, this person that has allowed the music industry to shape and fashion them into just another puppet.
Exactly.
Because that's what we're getting. It's like the music industry is an assembly line for puppets. And when you mentioned earlier distraction, here it is. This is our distraction to you.
Oh yeah.
This is to keep you turning your head away from what's really going on over here.
Exactly.
Not understanding how much this is continuing to degrade our value system. You know, I
and our youth.
because they're watching it. You know, it's if you look at two children, say they're 8 years old. These two children are watching a video, and this is a music video. In this music video, you have a male artist, and he's covered in all of these chains, and you know he has on all of these watches. He got the money stack, you know, the muscle on with the money and everything on it. And on his side is a woman who's scantily clad. You know, the bikini strap or spaghetti strap bikinis, you know, showing off everything, leaving nothing to the imagination. They're watching this. The girl sees the man as a success because he's on television. He's showing his money. Okay, I see her. In order to get a man like that, then I need to dress like her. I need a body like her. And the boy is like, he's finally feeling himself. It's his first little time, and he's feeling something down there. So he's like, hey, like, I like the way she looks. In order to give me a girl like that, I need to be like him. I'm listening to what he's saying. I need to follow that. That's my blueprint to get a girl like this. So now you have the youth who are not getting the guidance. Like the movie The Cable Guy with Jim Carrey, I feel like that is what the youth is right now. It's a bunch of children who have been sat down in front of the computer, in front of YouTube, in front of TikTok, in front of Snapchat. They just sit down in front here, learn life from this. And they're not getting any guidance. They're not getting any. They don't have anybody there to help them distinguish between what's real and what's entertainment.
Right, I agree. These topics have really took me back because we actually music was playing before we actually started this live. Music was playing. Music was playing before we actually started this live, and it was like you don't hear this type of music anymore. You actually have to go back and search, regardless of how you guys listen to music, whether it's Spotify or Apple Music.
Go pull out a cassette tape.
Yes, back in the day, for those my old school people that actually used to have cassette tapes or they CD book that you have to flip through, or you used to make your own music, or your mixtapes or CDs. So yes, those were the days to where music, and when you hear it, you make this face like, oh, this done took me. Oh, that's my, So it took you there, and you have so many memories. Whether you was hanging out with your people, your homegirls, or whatever, y'all was at a party, house party, because I'm actually known for house parties, but or actual clubs back in the day. So where when you hear a song, it just like it take your soul. You're like, oh man, that's my jam.
Yeah.
But now, music has a tendency with our youth. It take them, they be ready to fight. Be like, hold on, wait a minute, bring it down.
And it's crazy because I hear music today, and it's just one song recycled.
Right.
I hear no variation in the lyrics. It's like one monotonous beat in the topic and everything else. Right. So when we're talking about it, just like that feeling that comes upon us, like hearing something old, it's like you're right. Like it's a chill that comes on down my spine.
Yeah.
We can identify a particular time in our lives, a particular experience, but like the music now is just like you said, it's just angry.
I'll be like, what did he say? I don't understand.
It's just angry.
Right.
That's all it is. Anger, it's rage, it's confusion.
Right.
And it's misdirected.
But some of these kids, and I'm saying babies, it be babies. Like, how you know the words to this song? Baby, what happened to your ABCs? Do you know your ABCs? You know this song better than you know your ABCs.
Exactly.
It shocks me because
and I've seen those where, and that's one of the most, to me, it's one of the most saddening images.
I agree.
On social media, to have a parent with their little girl.
Yes.
Like twerking. Yes, it's like you got this girl twerking. Like, where's the daddy at?
Right.
Where's the daddy at? Because it's no way that that's going to be taking place. Like you say, you see them word for word with the lyrics of something that it's no way that they should know those lyrics. They don't even know what those lyrics are saying. They don't know the meaning behind the words, but they know the lyrics.
Know them like it's their ABCs.
And the only way they have learned them that way is if you've played it continuously. So you don't even understand you are feeding this poison
into your child.
You are turning your child into an addict. An addict to the violence, an addict to the confusion, an addict to the depravity. Right. Exactly. Right. You are feeding into this societal system which is hell bent on desensitizing children to death. like growing up looking at the news, there wasn't all of the death we see right
No,
now,
it's
you
bad.
know, like, but every single day, this person is killed, this person is shot, this person is killed, and it's gotten to where they started showing things like
Right.
that actually reference it. So you add that along with the video games to where, you know,
Exactly.
you have these first person shooter games, you got the Grand Theft Autos, to where it's normalizing death, it's normalizing crime, it's normalizing violence, it's normalizing drug addiction.
Mhm.
Music back in the day, it wasn't about, you know, doing drugs.
Exactly.
Yeah, we sold drugs in order to get up out of the hood, to make a better way. This is how we've changed now. But today is, hey, yeah, how many can I pop?
Yeah.
How much
We
they
done had some music back in the day that
Man.
we didn't know what the topic
Yeah,
was or what they were saying. Like,
We ain't talking about Luke.
you already knew some. I was like,
Walking around saying it, it's
Right,
not
right.
until you get around your parents, like, do you even know what
Just
that
singing?
means?
Right.
But the music now, like I say, it's glorifying addiction.
right.
You
Right.
know, it's you see a successful person talking about this. It's like, I want to experience what it feels like to be him.
Yeah.
This is what he's saying he does, so let me do that.
Right.
And we're leading them into a grave,
Right.
especially with the way the drugs are now. Like, everything is laced with fentanyl.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, the most sad, I was like, well, at least, you know, weed wasn't laced with it. And then I heard about a former client who died because they smoked weed that was laced with fentanyl.
Mm.
So it's like, you know, nothing is safe right now.
Right. I agree. Cause and it's something that I had talked with someone of having a panel, like a youth. It was like a youth talk.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of the name of how we said we were going to do it, but getting kids together and actually having a panel of people, males and females, different, you know, backgrounds, to speak on, to talk to these kids about what they're dealing with. You have kids that were probably dealing with drugs. They probably selling drugs. They probably having sex at a young age because of peer pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Getting them to speak about what they're dealing with, probably saving some kids from sex trafficking
Yeah.
or molestation within their household or family, to try and break some of these generational curses from our youth. Because if we can save some, it may show that there are people out here that do care. We want to help you. So that's something I'm also going to be reaching out to a few friends of mine if they're interested. If you're seeing this podcast, doing an actual panel for our youth and getting these kids to come out and express themselves, because parents are there, but sometimes parents are not there. You have parents that's
Yes.
working, that are trying, honestly, shout out to the single women, that are actually trying to take care of home and working 2 jobs, trying to make ends meet, leaving the kids at home alone. It happens. Some are actually doing this, not intentional, but they're trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
But then you have the kids feeling like they're not loved, or, you know, left out, or different events that come up. They want to go to these events, but the parent is not
can't.
there because the parent's working.
Yeah.
Or the dad's not present. And they looking at their peers or their friends going to these events, but they feel left out.
And I feel like that
Teen
puts it
Summit.
back.
That's the Teen Summit. That's what it was.
Going back like
It's-
that
it's like a,
BET,
yeah, it's like a
BET,
Teen Summit. It's for teens.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what it
that
was.
would be very beneficial, and I think it's something that is very needed. You know, and just hearing you express those different scenarios, you know, it also makes me think back about, you know, the importance of the parents who are in those positions having those discussions
Right.
with the children.
Right.
You know, one of the toughest things I think I've been a regular occurrence in hearing or when talking with different clients is, you know, well, they hear that what you say doesn't matter, or you're not supposed to think like that, or you shouldn't feel like that, and I can imagine a child growing up in a single household where the one parent is working to provide everything. Well, you don't have nothing to complain about.
Right.
You got a household, all of this right here, it just like it's creating a complex to where how I feel isn't important, what I say doesn't matter. I feel it needs to be more open communication.
Exactly.
You don't have to necessarily agree with what your child is feeling or what your child is thinking, but don't tell them you shouldn't think that or you shouldn't feel that.
Right.
We can approach it. We need to learn how to talk with each other healthy.
Exactly.
I understand that you're saying you feel like this. I understand that you're expressing this is what you are thinking.
Right.
And then how do we move forward from here?
Exactly.
What is it that I need to do, or what is it that would help you to see that what you're thinking is not what it is? How can we have those types of discussions? Overall, like the Teen Summit, I feel that's a wonderful idea. Especially if we get some of the parents to be a part of it also. If it's something you want to do, look, I want to be a part of it. You can get me in there, and just anything to expose children to different avenues. We were speaking earlier. I think I may have been speaking while you were getting or ready for this, but about the theater that I'm associated with, Upstage Theater Company. It's an avenue for a child to experience a different talent.
Right.
To even just explore, is acting something that I would want to be a part of? Okay. Whether you say, we talked about modeling, is modeling something you want to be a part of? There are different avenues to that fulfill the interest of a child, but it's not available to them. The resources aren't there. So, if anybody is listening on this podcast, and you have something you feel like somebody that a young child or somebody in their youth would love to be available to, look, reach out to Ebony. Reach out to Classic Quties. I'm also on social media. You can reach out to me. Look, let's work together and show the youth that there is a different avenue. There is a different route that they can take.
Dameon, give your information as far as how they can reach out to you.
Yes, you can reach me on Instagram or Facebook. My first and last name, Dameon, Dameon, Hills, Hills, 1982 @gmail.com. That is my identifier on both platforms. So reach out to me, please.
Yay.
If you know somebody who is struggling with addiction, who is battling alcoholism, if it's somebody that is struggling in any way, shape, or form, look, I have no problem stopping what I'm doing, providing the resources that they need. I work at a treatment center. I can definitely help them if they are seeking for a change. Don't feel like you're alone. It is difficult, but the strongest and hardest step you'll ever take will possibly be the best one, and the one that changes your life forever.
Right. Awesome. Okay. And there's some things I want to touch on too before we close out tonight. Here at Monte Cristo on July 27th, 2024, they will be having the Voyage Band performing, and a couple of birthday celebrations here. As far as July 28th, it's going to be Sunday brunch. I might have to check out the brunch action going on.
What's on the menu?
Okay, they have the mimosas and lemon drop specials. Brunch $35. Yeah, and it says brunch and 2 mimosas, $50 brunch and unlimited mimosas. Again, that's Monte Cristo. The time from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. for brunch. And the show starts at 8 p.m. for July 27th. That's Friday for the Voyage Band. Saturday, I'm sorry. Correction. July 27th, Saturday for the Voyage Band. Okay, awesome. That's awesome. Again, Jade and Tammy couldn't be here with us tonight, so they should be joining us on our next podcast. And we don't have the information of our upcoming guests. It may be, I think it's going to be Q Good Life. we have, and that would be August 7th. For those that don't know, if you can't go to Bella Noche, look. so, so yes, we're gonna have Bella Noche or Mr. Bella Noche in the building of Monte Cristo is what we're shooting for August 7th. That is in the plan. So yeah, be looking out for that. August 21st is up in the air. So you guys, again, this is Classic Cuties. We will want you to like, share, and subscribe. Okay? Again, follow us on Facebook, Cuties page, Quties. Again, Classic Cuties signing off. Good night.